Welcome everybody to Beat the Shift Baseball. This is episode 111 for Tuesday, June 22nd. I'm Alex Uwe. I'm here today with Farbod Markazi and Alex Roude. We got a great show for you guys today. We're going to be talking about the new era of sticky stuff enforcement on pitchers. Today was actually the first time that umpires were inspecting, so we'll talk about all of that. We have confirmed Shohei Otani in the home run derby, and he's getting off to a good start. We have Rudy's cat in the building today. That's going to be amazing. And we also will talk about just how bad the Dbacks have been. They're in the midst of an impressive road losing streak. So, yeah, let's get to that. But before we do, I just want to remind you guys that you should follow us on all of our social medias, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, at BeatTheShiftBP. That's the best way to talk to us. We want to hear what you have to say about the things that we talk about. Or if you just want to say hi, that's at BeatTheShiftBP. All right, let's get into it. Farbod, Rudy's cat. How's everybody tonight?
Pretty good. This is the old squad. Going back to 2014. I have a different setup today. No longer in Oregon.
Yes.
But
wait.
Yes.
We should absolutely start with that. We'll get to your cat in a second, Rudy. But Farbod, congrats, man.
Yeah.
The final college graduate of the bunch. We're all old now. We have no youthful charm anymore. It's gone. Thanks to you.
I am officially educated. Is that what my piece of paper is supposed to mean? Well, yeah. I'm like a third of the way unpacked from the move down, so I don't have my mic on me, but this is gonna work probably as well as all of our Beat the Ship podcasts have worked. So I'm excited to at least talk some baseball.
Yeah, absolutely. Rudy's still still unpacking from his college days, right? That's why he doesn't have his mic. That's the reason, right?
I have ear mics.
Yeah, he
got Apple.
He got fancy AirPods.
New sponsor. Shameless plug.
I mean, I
Not
guess.
a sponsor.
if they
could be.
I don't think anybody doesn't know what those are, but yeah, how about we do the baseball talk? Let's get to it. We will start by talking about some initial responses to MLB's official memo about their new enforcement policies and how umpires will be going about their business. They released this memo last week, I think the day after we recorded. At the time, we did know about it, but we didn't really hear any players' responses. So we'll talk about a few notable ones. And then we'll get to the more recent awkwardness of how it actually looks in practice, seeing umpires taking pitchers aside before and after innings. But yeah, so let's start with the player reactions. For those who don't know, I'll just give the context again. MLB players for a long time now have been allowed to use foreign sticky substances on the baseball to get better grip and improve their spin rate. Even though it was against MLB's rules, it was just never enforced until a week ago when MLB officially decided, okay, time to enforce this. Everybody knows about it. A lot of people are upset about it. We have to do something. So their response was pretty much no more. No more sticky substances of any kind. Does not matter to what degree. It doesn't matter if you're using the spider tack or, the industrial adhesive grade stick, or if it's just sunscreen and rosin that you're putting on your arm or putting on your hat, whatever it may be. All of it is going to be prosecuted the same way. So the responses from major league pitchers, of course, is going to be, what the heck? Now all of a sudden, 2 months into the season, all of these responses are more or less in line with that. I think a good overall perspective, which, not surprising, is going to be Trevor Bauer, who's one of the more vocal players about the whole situation and always was. But his response was, of course, in the form of a YouTube video that he put out, and long, like half an hour, just going through all the ins and outs. But the main points of it being, there is no real there is no real way to enforce this with any consistency, and it's pretty messed up that they're doing this a couple months into the season when pitchers have had no time to prepare for what is essentially a new rule. So I'll start with you, Farbod, and just kind of get your thoughts on the reaction and a little bit just about like how would you feel if you were told at this point in the season that you will not be allowed to do this anymore, but if you did it in the past, it's okay.
I was talking to you about this earlier when we were playing some pickup basketball. It wasn't really basketball. We didn't really make any shots, but maybe you didn't. But it's really annoying. This is just a really annoying topic that, like, I understand the reason for it. I understand that they want to enforce it, but the question I keep coming back to, the question I asked 2 weeks ago when we were talking about this, is why now? And why does MLB try to keep ruining their relationship with the players' union before the CBA? I know this was something that was agreed to by the players' union, but at the same time, the reaction from the players isn't going to be fantastic. I think when you go down the list of the player reactions, I thought Carlos Rodon, his quote about you give the Astros no suspensions and then you're going to suspend pitchers 10 games. I don't really like. I get the point he's trying to make, but I feel like those are two different situations. I think also with the biggest thing to point out about just the whole pitchers using sticky substances, this isn't all the pitchers' fault. This isn't just pitchers trying to cheat. This is something that pitchers have been instructed to do throughout the league by their clubs, whether it's been rosin or sunscreen and rosin, or maybe some pitchers have gone a little bit above, and that's excessive, and that should be definitely enforced. But Peter Moylan had a 4-minute long speech about this, kind of talking about exactly what Trevor Bauer talked about. One, it's really hard to enforce. Two, the thing about Tyler Glasnow, that what he said about his injury being caused by this, I kind of see that where if you like with the sticky substances, for those of you that don't know, allows them to hold the baseball like this, like towards the end of their fingertips, so it's less stress on the arm. And when you basically tell them you can't have that extra grip, you put it closer into your palm. There's more tension going down your entire forearm and going straight into that elbow area. So I think that's all the reactions that we've listed on our sheet at least. I do see the point that I think Trevor Bauer and Tyler Glasnow are making great points about this. I think at some point you have to think about why sunscreen and rosin are completely banned, because I mean enforcement of it is going to be tough, but like, is MLB now promoting skin cancer by saying no more sunscreen?
MLB is cancer.
MLB is cancer. Interesting. I'm kind of mumbling at this point, but it's just my mind's going everywhere about this whole topic. Could you lead me into a better?
No, yeah, you kind of knocked out all of it there. I think you hit all the biggest nuances to a lot of these responses. One, yeah, like the Astros comparison is just kind of like another dig at the Astros more than anything, calling out the
comparison
commissioner
makes no sense
directly.
Yeah,
it's more just like dude, remember the Astros cheated. Like, it's very different than the current situation, but he's just like, hey, screw the Astros.
Cheating.
Yeah, they are. I mean, but that's the thing. Okay, so let's go back to the initial kind of the start of where this was in and ask the question, like, was this cheating to begin with? Is it cheating if the rule exists but it's not enforced in any way? Like, is jaywalking illegal
Yes.
if there's a cop on that intersection
Yes.
that does nothing about it? Is it still
So are
illegal?
you saying
Yes.
like do you think
That
like
is what illegal means, is that it's against the law. It's nothing to do with
yeah?
enforcement.
My biggest
Those are
thing
just
with it,
separate
and
concepts.
I agree with Rudy, but my biggest thing with it has always been the people who are using the excessive amount of sticky stuff or like the spider tack or whatever the stickiest stuff is. Um, that's a little too far. But maybe the rule should be altered. I always believe that these are major league pitchers and they can, for the most part, know where the ball's going. So I don't think sticky stuff is the difference between them clocking a hitter in the head, um, like every other batter, or throwing a strike on the inside corner. But at the same time, if they feel better or if the quality of the game, quality of pitching is better with sunscreen and rosin or like just rosin or whatever, the smallest amount of that to help with the grip, to help with the sweat, whatever, that should still be allowed. But maybe the rule is what needs to be altered.
Okay.
And that's kind of what I've been thinking about is when I bring up the why now is they could have talked about this during the CBA negotiation.
They
They
could have
could have
talked about this 2 years
earlier
ago
this,
when Trevor
yeah,
Bauer was very, very publicly talking about how pitchers around the league, in
Well,
particular, like the Cy
that's why
Young,
he has no right to say anything.
he
He
has
can't complain.
every
He's the
right
whole
to say
reason. No,
everything,
he's the
first of
whole
all.
reason it happened is because he drew attention to it. He has no one to blame but himself. It's completely
No,
his machination. It is.
he is pro MLB changing the rule because the rule is inconsistent. There is no level playing field. And that's another part of the response
Oh, I misunderstood you. I thought he
across
was complaining about it being too.
the way it was
So
handled
he's
was
happy with the
poor.
changes.
He's happy that MLB is doing something about it. He's unhappy with the execution because of the reasons. I'm going to
I think
reiterate
that's the
again.
correct
For
response.
one, because you give pitchers basically no warrant. Like a pitcher from the start of spring training and, in the past is going to go about their business expecting to go, like, to do the same thing, build up the same way that they have in the past. Like, they have not been told by any measure that anything will be different. The only thing they were told was that, hey, we're going to be collecting some balls this year to take samples and get a better understanding of the stuff. And they almost explicitly
already
said,
confusing.
and they already almost explicitly said before the season started that nobody was going to be penalized for anything to do with the balls that are being collected. And I think that's still the case. I don't think MLB, as part of their new action, has said anything about retroactively suspending pitchers based on test results from balls that have been collected from the field of play. It's an umpire discretion thing based on inspections that they carry out. So you can, if I'm wrong about that, then that's something that I think hasn't been made enough mention of, because that would be an even bigger problem for reasons that we've talked about in the past, where it's like, how do you know the source of the stuff on the ball? Like, you're just gonna peg the pitcher for that, even though there's other sticky substances on other players, on hitters, on bats, like everywhere. So that's a totally different avenue of conversation than where we're at, really. Um, and I kind of want to go back to what Rudy said about, like, if it's against the law, it's illegal. Okay, by definition, yeah, like that is the definition of illegal. That's the definition of illegal. But I'll ask it a different way.
So
Is
what's the
it
debate
is it wrong? Like, if I use the jaywalking example again, like if you're at like a school with, like, and you walk to school every day, and in a street that you cross is technically jaywalking, and there's like the school police there, but they don't do anything about it because it's not a big deal. Is it wrong to cross that part of the street even though it's technically illegal?
I mean, that implies that all laws follow our sense of morality, which is a level of philosophical discourse that I don't think we're prepared for nor have the time for.
Well, assuming a
I
pretty
already touched philosophy talk.
agreed upon level of acceptance, where if the
I feel like he
enforcer
just
thinks
wants to
it's not a big
say
deal
it's
and
fine, and I'm not going to say it.
the
I'm not going to
participant
follow
doesn't
through on your
feel
metaphor.
the participant doesn't feel as though they are getting away with anything or that they are cheating if it's just kind of agreed upon, even though the
I
law
don't
that
agree with
exists.
that.
Well,
No,
dude,
I'm not going down this rabbit hole of metaphors. I don't agree. I think and sports is also its own comparison, and I think you don't need to take pride in cheating to be a cheater. At the end of the day,
But you don't even think
regardless
you're
of
it's
cheating.
a lot
Like
of these.
like the Astros knew that they were cheating. Like they weren't like, "Oh, we didn't know."
what difference does it make if you have intent or not? It's the rule is the rule, and I don't think
But
what doesn't
it's almost like the rule didn't matter.
but
Like even if it was illegal, it
okay, well
straight up
now it
didn't matter
does.
because
So now they made it matter. What I don't
now
why
they
does it
made it
matter? That
matter.
didn't matter in
Yeah,
the past.
But my thing
because
is
of the quickness of the turnaround. They're like,
yeah.
"Oh, okay. All right, it matters
It's
now."
fair for everyone. Everyone has to deal with it at the same time.
Well, it's not.
But wouldn't it be better during an off season, or like if they did this in like February, or
I
instead of
would be,
like
but we already know the league is incompetent. I would have the league at least try to change things instead of just sitting there and doing nothing. So, I mean, I think the pitchers took advantage of the loophole, and now it's coming back to bite them, and they have to face the repercussions. That's what loopholes are. Once
I think
they're closed, you have to adjust. I mean, clearly the pitchers have reached a level of refinement that's grossly advanced past the hitters, and the MLB went for a very arbitrary swift change to try to level the playing field mid-season. And can debate endlessly over the morality of law and legality and all of these things. And by the end of the day, like I think it's all just smoke and mirrors. It is what it is. That's the change. And like the pitchers, I think they should suck it up. I mean, you can't just like not follow a rule forever and just think, oh well, now it's changed. It's unfair. It's like no, you are breaking the rule. It's not unfair that now they're enforcing the rule. I don't believe in that at all.
well,
Just because you make it enforced suddenly,
So you have no
you
sympathy.
should.
so sometimes
I don't have sympathy. No, I
Okay.
don't have sympathy.
I don't have sympathy for the pitchers that might have used like I'll go back to my excessive like the actual like they've gone out and gotten extra substances that are extra sticky substances or whatever. But those, at least from reports and from what I've been reading, is that a lot of clubs, a lot of teams have been just instructing their pitchers, hey, combine like sunscreen rosin, or hey, do whatever, like this will help you get extra grip, or like maybe a little bit more of the RPMs on your spin rate, I mean on your fastball, whatever. The pitchers who came up with this being basically taught, or like being an expectation on their clubs, and all of a sudden changing their whole thing, that's a pretty quick turnaround for them, at least. Like that's where my sympathy falls. And like I said, I mean, going back to the Glasnow thing, I'm not a medical expert or anything, so I can't exactly say like, oh yeah, I totally agree with him in that this rule caused his injury. But at the same time, I do understand where he's coming from when he's talking about that. I do agree with you, Rudy, that pitchers should just suck it up. But at the same time, I don't think this was executed in a way that would be that has like the best why am I blanking? That has like the future of the game, like the progression of the game in mind. I think this could have been done in a much better way, or at least at a better time, thought through a little bit more. I feel like it was a little rushed after all the lash out over the last couple months from players or hitters talking about it on various interviews, post games, rotation, the Chris Rose rotation, stuff like that.
Yeah, I think we need to explain what the Glasnow thing is because we haven't to this point.
I talked about it a little bit when I went on my little
Farbod
spiel at the
explained
beginning.
it.
More referenced it, but Tyler Glasnow has a partially torn UCL and is going to miss a decent amount of time. He's getting shut down. He's not going to be having Tommy John surgery. He's going to try to rehab it. It's one of those situations, but that's one of the best pitchers in the league that is shut down from this. And what he's talking about is Tyler Glasnow directly saying in a press conference that he firmly believes that the reason for his injury is because he had to stop using sticky substance that helped him get grip, and he had to change the way that he grips the baseball, which does put more tension on the forearm, on the elbow, and it's just different, right? If you are refining your craft and you need to do something a certain way, and it is a game of perfecting repetition, and all of a sudden you have to change things, and especially at that explosive of a level, it's already one of the most damaging movements in all of sports. Probably is throwing a baseball 100 miles an hour. So, you add kind of an unfamiliar situation to that. Like, in theory, it makes sense. Is it fair to say that that is why? No, because that's not how injuries work. There's a variety of factors that come into play. But he is frustrated, like very, very directly frustrated. Like, he didn't mince words. He said, "I think this is why I got injured." And that's where we lie now. And maybe the question isn't even like, do you think that's why he got injured? Because I don't think there's any point in us answering that. I think
I think it makes sense.
I think
but I don't
think
think
it's
that's
worth
the full reason he got injured.
I think it's another account to just, do you think that the MLB thought of or cared about any sorts of repercussions that it could
Those
have
are
on
two
pitchers?
different things. Thought and cared are not the same thing.
Do you think they like, I mean, yeah, do you think they put the appropriate amount of thought into the way that they're, like, the impact of what they're doing? Or do you think it was just kind of like, people are mad, so let's change this thing?
I think no. I think it's more premeditated than people realize. Theo Epstein has said over and over again for a long time already that he was going to make big changes, and I think this was if I had to guess, I think this is a change that was a long time in the mix, and they probably inputted it mid-season instead of at the end of the season like was originally planned, and that was clearly, as you have said, very ill considered. But I think just to, and you know me, I'm very critical of MLB, just to assume they're that ignorant and they didn't give, like, to me, I think they just think it's a worth it cost to them. I think at the end of the day, they think the entertainment gain they'll make on offense is worth Tyler Glasnow getting hurt. Now, do we agree with that assessment? Probably not, but I don't think it can just be automatically assumed that they made it from a place of idiocracy.
You
Also,
just go ahead.
I was say, just to use your metaphor against you, are you telling me if I cross the street and jaywalk and I get a ticket, then it's the police's fault for giving me a ticket? That makes absolutely no sense.
I mean, if
Not their
it
fault.
was a street that you were crossing every single day, like for your entire life, and then all of a sudden, like, and not even saying, like, in front of no cop. In this metaphor, like, there's a cop there. Like, say it's a school, or like there's just a dude there. He's like, okay, like,
well,
people cross the street all the
city told
time,
them to
and
enforce the law,
all of a sudden it gets, yeah, you'd be pissed, right? You're like, well,
fine.
that's not right.
No, that's life.
You'd be like, ah, darn, ah, rats, ah, well,
I mean, I wouldn't
get
be
him next
happy
time.
with it, but I wouldn't blame the law or the police for it.
I don't know. I think you might be like, what the heck? I've been doing this every day for like the last year.
Those are different things. It's one thing to be like, this sucks, like my loophole has been removed. That's unfortunate. Definitely agree with that. That's different than saying that the enforcement is wrong. Those are two different things. It's you can acknowledge your situation is unfortunate, but not necessarily. But I think a lot of the pitchers' attitude seems to be like they should just let the loophole open forever. We're just like, well, that's a whole different argument. Then your advocacy should be to not have the rule, which is different. But I don't see how you can be mad at them for just like not letting a loophole exist. To me,
Well,
that's
okay,
nonsense.
to go deeper, we're just going in on the metaphor now because this,
Oh my
I mean, it's
God.
a situation where like we're talking about, it's kind of just an immediate stopgap decision that was made. Like, say they put up a sign like at that spot that's a known jaywalking spot. They're like like explicitly saying, "Do not jaywalk. Like, you will be fined if you do." And that's like fair enough warning. You're like, okay, that sucks, but okay, but let's say it was like a very necessary part, and like now I have to walk like 3 blocks down to a spot that I can act. They didn't offer a solution. They just said
Yes,
stop.
that is like just daily life on a regular basis.
Yeah, it doesn't make like
And in this case, you would agree to it, like through like you'd basically vote for the law. I mean, the union agreed to it. You guys said so. I mean, that's who they should blame. They should blame the union for agreeing
well
to it.
they should blame all the hitters who came out and said like, yeah, this is getting real annoying. All these pitchers are using the sticky stuff,
Yeah,
and like, well, yeah, we have been.
and yeah, I think
now we're going
we've
down.
talked about the depth, but I definitely want to. I think you said this. We agree to it. I think Farbod has said many times. It's for, and this is where the whole metaphor falls apart. Clearly, like the whole like, what is it? Bear glue? What is it? Some animal glue
Spider
you're saying?
tack.
Fire tack. I mean, I saw you guys saw that picture, I'm sure, of
Yeah.
like Lindsay Adler. I think. I mean, that's ludicrous. I mean, clearly that is a problem if that's like just a regular occurrence. But yeah,
That's the excessive that I was talking about.
obviously,
Or you can
yes, like
just it'll just
obviously,
hang off your finger like that.
yeah. I mean, you can't. I don't see how you can justify and say that's like not taking advantage of breaking the rules. But yes, like clearly, once again, I just want to clarify my platform. I don't agree with them just arbitrarily banning everything in the middle of the season without fair warning. But even if that's not the way I've done it, I don't have a ton of sympathy with the pitcher's reaction. That's my bottom
That's
line
true.
point.
Two things before we move on. One, Rudy, you did sway me a little bit there because at first I did think that at least how I felt was that this was kind of just like a knee-jerk reaction by the MLB, just throwing out a memo, kind of being like, since this was a hot button issue and being pressured by a lot of players, I thought this was like their like way of like, let's put a speed bump here. Hopefully, this will slow down the anger about this until the end of the season, and we'll figure it out. But I did kind of forget Theo Epstein was there, and I would assume that like this was pretty premeditated, but just poorly thought through on when they were going to put this into action or into actual like league policy.
Mm-hmm.
Secondly, MLB is promoting skin cancer. Thank you.
Thank you for
Jeez.
that is all. I don't. Yes, I mean, many degrees of deductions from this point. Then I guess you can't
They
argue with
actually
that.
aren't, but I just want to make that joke.
Yeah. And I think, we didn't really talk about Trevor May's reaction, but it's more or less similar. I think it wraps it up nicely. Is as a pitcher, like I'm not just gonna sit here when this is my livelihood and be like, oh well, it'll improve the offense for the good of the game. Like, no, of course pitchers are gonna be upset about it, and we're talking about pitcher reactions, so there's that part to consider too. Not everybody is
Well,
dealing with it as directly as these players are, and they have the right to be upset because it's their livelihood, whatever. So yeah, we can move on from the sticky stuff. We might end up talking about it a little bit again later, just with some of the looks of the first day of umpires actually checking on pitchers and inspecting gloves and hats, and I think they're inspecting like the belt buckles too. They're asking pitchers to like rub the inside of their belt buckles, or like it's just really awkward looking at certain times. But that's
DeGrom came back clean.
we'll get used to that. Yeah.
He doesn't use anything, I thought.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He
It
came back
it
clean.
appears that way. Yeah, DeGrom, in case anybody was wondering, is still doing his thing. More milestones and scoreless inning streaks. I think he only went
And offense.
5 innings today. So
And he's
in
catching
70
line
pitches.
drives too. He does it
Yeah,
all.
he
He's the
does.
next Ohtani.
He's doing it all. But again, he's going to be an interesting one to watch just with the kind of nagging injuries he's had throughout the season, and how they handle him, how carefully they handle him moving forward. Only 70 pitches
Do
through
you guys
5 innings for him in his last start.
After he was removed from his last start, not today's, one fan pointed out in response to John Heyman on Twitter that like other than one start this year, he has either like left early or like something happened where he didn't get through the full start. With how the season's going so far with the Mets and how important he is to that team, wouldn't it be smarter to just shut it down and at least give him some time off to like 2 weeks or whatever, and give whatever's nagging in his body time to fully heal, to let him go fully build back up to the 7-inning, 8-inning pitcher that we know he is? Because I feel like, I mean, maybe I just feel like I'm always shortchanged because I want to see this dominance go 9 innings, and it's just like I get.
Team does too.
Yeah, it's just I have MLB TV on. I'm watching Jacob deGrom, and all of a sudden he's pulled. Like maybe I just feel like maybe I'm just being selfish here, but do you think that giving him that time off is beneficial? But at the same time, like I said earlier, I'm not a medical expert. This is probably thought through by the Mets medical team, but still.
I will say I follow the injuries pretty closely because of my investment in him, and none of them have shown like any real damage. So I get why they handled the way they have so far.
I do too.
And then I would guess that he's actually more valuable as just like a 5 or 6 inning pitcher than who pitches more games than who pitches like less games of longer innings, because that gives the Mets a larger chance to win more games. I'm sure they've done the math internally. And it's just like that's the math, even though it's obviously not what we want. But I have to guess that's just like how the math checks out in terms of what's the most value you can get out of him.
Yeah, I'm willing to bet there's no math involved in deciding how to use Jacob deGrom. It's really just based on how he feels. Like if he feels good, even like after coming off of starts where he's dealt with issues, but there's no structural like I think he's had more RBIs now than MRIs this season, but it's like 5-4. Like it's pretty ridiculous.
I mean, give him an MRI every day. Like,
or no, I think he actually does have as many MRIs as earned runs allowed on this season, which is pretty amazing. But they're like if they're clean and he feels good, then like why would you not use him, right? It's just, after he reaches a certain point, it's fatigue, it's something that's kind of doesn't feel right, and they're being exceedingly cautious, which makes sense. They need him later more than they need him now.
I totally agree with both of you.
But again, it's like why shut him down if he feels good and the MRIs are clean, and then you're just kind of like, all right, we'll be careful, but we'll keep using it.
I totally agree with you. I just saw that question on Twitter, and I figured it'd be an interesting question to ask. Second, do you think a man averaging 5 innings with an ERA under 1 can win Cy Young? If he does this,
Blake Snell did it a couple years ago.
I think MVP is the weirder, is the maybe the more interesting one.
Yeah.
Personally, yeah. I mean, if he doesn't win Cy Young, I feel like I don't know. You'd have to you really get hurt. Knock on wood.
Yeah, it's a legitimate question though. Like, even if he doesn't sustain a major injury and he ends up like 50 or 60 innings below the next, the next best pitcher. Like if you want to put numbers on it, like say a 210 inning pitcher, like I don't know,
like a 2-1 or a 1.
Yeah, with like still really good production numbers versus a Jacob deGrom of 150 innings, but has like the best numbers of all time. I think we've kind of seen which way that leans when Blake Snell
won the MVP 2 years ago when he when he missed like the last month. I feel like you should always take the guy who's just better.
Who's just the best. I agree. I think it's a question that'll be asked.
It's like one thing if you play half the season. Like I agree, then that's like the margin of error is too much. But
yeah, absolutely. He's still making his starts for the most part. It's just, as you put it, it's a Blake Snell Cy Young year.
Do you guys know how many starts he's actually missed? I'm guessing it's like probably 5 Actually, it was on the DL at one point.
I thought it was less than that, but
Probably
maybe.
less.
It has to be less. So I don't think I don't think that's an egregious amount.
No.
Yet by any means.
But yeah, we're just gonna sit back and enjoy on the Jacob deGrom front, I think, for the time being. And the same
And then
goes. Same can be said about Mr. Shohei Otani at this point, who has decided a homer a day will keep the critics away. So
Farbod, I would not be happy that he's in home run derby if I was you. That's a curse. It's like the Madden cover curse.
I just want some fun in the home run derby.
You deserve it. You deserve it.
I mean, I don't know why Trout's like declined the home run derby for like his whole career, but I would assume one of the reasons was back when Mark Trumbo throwback was in it and then just stuck for the second half and was Trout's teammate. So, I mean,
Judge has never been the same.
Shohei did say he's basically just going to go there and treat it like basic BP because he still hits tanks at BP. But I'm excited to see him in the home run derby, especially in Colorado. That's gonna be insane.
I think it's the pinnacle of MLB excitement. Like you can talk about like very few things that you'd rather see, and that would be like Shohei Otani in the home run derby at Coors Field. Like so many
So
factors just lining up perfectly there.
That's the pinnacle. I mean, I think that's cool, but I don't think it's
The
the pinnacle.
pinnacle of just like awesomeness.
It's the pinnacle of like baseball, like Reddit nerddom.
Of
Fabian,
not just Reddit, dude, and everybody likes Shohei Otani. Everybody likes Shohei Otani. I think
other than Mariners
like
fans who wanted him.
no, I think even them, they love him. Sorry, but yeah, and then you keep adding on to that, like
What about that guy he made balk by showing bunt yesterday?
yeah, that was pretty amazing too. But just to finish the thought, like, dude, you add like the show he's putting on to like his hype sequence of just winning player of the week and homering every single day, like getting everybody maximum excitement for this home run derby. Like I don't know. I don't see how you can't turn the TV on to watch him do that at that point with the way he's been.
The Dodgers beat writer from The Athletic, former Angels, David Ardaya, tweeted when this news was announced. I don't know if Shohei Otani is going to win the home run derby, but by God, is it going to be a show? So he tweeted something along the lines of that, just because I think last time the Angels even played in Colorado, Shohei was hitting some tanks just in normal BP in Colorado. So I'm excited. I couldn't be more excited for this home run derby.
Mhm.
I hope I'm not working during it.
I hope so. All right, wait. I have to ask though. So who rounds out your dream lineup for a Coors Field home run derby? Like, who knows the next time we're gonna get a Coors Field home run derby?
Stanton.
Yeah. So round out your dream lineup. How many participants do they have now in total? They still do.
Is it 8?
I can't remember
Or
if
is that
they've
a lot?
decreased it. Just start listing some names though. We won't hard cap you there.
Healthy Stanton. Vlad Guerrero's booty.
I think both of which I don't know if Stanton said anything. Guerrero has already confirmed he won't be doing it, as well as like Aaron Judge. You know, some other names have already explicitly said like, yeah, I'm not doing it, but good stuff.
I would love to see Mike Trout in one at some point. But I don't know if that's gonna happen.
I don't think he'll be healthy by then, which
no,
is
he won't be
unfortunate.
healthy.
Yeah. I'd be remiss if I didn't say Joey Gallo.
Joey
Probably
Gallo.
still the strongest player in baseball.
Jack
Anybody else?
Cust.
Jack Cust. You're gonna waste your Coors Field home run derby pick on Jack Cust.
Reggie Willis.
Rudy, you gotta have somebody else in mind. Come on, who you got? Who do you want to see?
They should do all pitchers: Bumgarner, deGrom, Ohtani.
That'd be.
Who else hits?
Is Ohtani fair?
Bombs.
You would have to make Ohtani hit right-handed.
It's a pretty short list of pitchers who rake.
Is there anyone else who rakes?
Don't think so. Can you think of anybody else who rakes? Any other two-way players? Any other two-way-ish type of players?
Jared Walsh.
Babe,
He's a
Babe
pitcher.
Ruth.
Jared Walsh has 5 innings pitched in the big league.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing.
Williams Astudillo.
Williams Astudillo. We'll see your mean Mercedes with Williams Astudillo as his thrower. That'll really ruffle some feathers. I think that would be pretty funny just to rub it in Larus's face. Do you think the league would let him do that if they were just like, hey, if we think it'd be really funny if Mercedes just went out there for one pitch and let Astudillo throw it? Or do you think that would be too explicit of a middle finger towards a manager?
I would love that. I don't care. Can we get Tony La Russa to be in the home run derby?
Yeah, I don't know. He's probably up for it. He's a legit baseball dude.
Hall of Famer, bro.
For real. Yeah, but all that stuff's coming up pretty soon. We're almost in July here, so AllStar voting will be done pretty soon. I don't think we talked about it last week, but I don't think there's anything too contentious this year with the AllStar voting so far.
It's your yearly reminder to vote for Emilio Bonifacio.
I think you mean Omar Infante.
Hey.
Omar Infante. I got my Marlins middle inferiors mixed up.
Uwe and I are on it.
Yep, we got you. All right, let's move on. I think that's probably it for like the longer topics of discussion that we had lined up. Just some other like smaller news points that we wanted to bring up before ending. This one's pretty big. I don't know if there's much to say about it really, but it is Chex Watch. It is Wander Franco time already. June 22nd will be the debut. Didn't take that long. I think the Mariners are to thank for that one. They swept the Rays in a 4-game series in pretty embarrassing fashion. A few walk-offs in there, and I don't know. That's just a rough one to lose 4 games in a row to the Seattle Mariners. That really forced their hand. So thank you, Mariners, for giving us Wander Franco at maybe a little bit earlier timetable than
now give us Vidal Brujan.
You're a Brujan over Franco guy? Is that just a fantasy take?
Yes.
Yeah.
Real talk. The rookies have not performed well this year, so I think everyone should have some patience for young Wander.
That's true. He's been very solid in AAA. I don't think he's ever not hit at any level he's been at, but
that's what they said about Kelenic too.
I think Franco though is a Vlad Jr. level prospect, which he didn't go off to the greatest start either to his career.
Yeah.
But look at him now.
I think he'll be amazing. I'm just saying. I think people. I don't know if the expectation that he's gonna come in and just be Tatis Jr. Immediately is valid.
And he could.
I think he's
more highly touted of a hitter than Tatis because of his consistent play discipline.
Tatis wasn't that touted.
No, even at the peak of Tatis's prospect status, when he was absolutely mashing. Tatis was never a patient.
Shields.
Tatis was never a patient hitter. Wander Franco has always been a patient hitter.
Would you trade Wander Franco for James Shields?
Yeah, I would. I think it'd work out pretty well. Hey, the White Sox are doing fine. The White Sox are doing pretty well right now, right? It worked out for them. They tell themselves.
The rotation.
Yeah, but
Lynn, baby.
there's a lot to be excited about with Wander. I don't know if we have more to offer than that really, but
he's good.
He's a big deal. Okay, can we just talk about how bad the Diamondbacks are for a second too? Again, not a point of discussion really.
Sad
more just something that has to be said. They did snap their overall losing streak, which reached 17 games in a row. That That's a rough.
And it's 20 days.
Yeah, that's a rough 3 weeks for anybody, for any team, to just constantly endure losing. But their road losing streak of 23 games is still going strong. It's the longest of all time, and they have a chance to extend that. I believe San Diego is their next destination to start a road trip, right?
I think, yeah, so that's their chance to snap that streak this coming weekend. I think starting Friday.
Mm.
I saw I mentioned this a lot on because I browse Twitter probably as much as Rudy browses Reddit, but
Impossible.
I saw a tweet right before we started recording this that said overheard from the Diamondbacks like the sound production room after they won today. I mean, right before they were capping off the game, and they were like, "Remember, there's a song we play when we win," because they just hadn't won in so long.
Beethoven?
So, I don't know, but I don't know what song it is, but it's basically them saying like, "Oh shoot, we have to actually play a song now because we're about to cap off this win that we haven't played in like weeks at this point."
I had to scroll pretty far down their recently played to find their winning song, I'd imagine.
They're definitely not this bad. It's like pretty egregious, like underperforming, I would say.
Yeah, this is not. I mean, we never expected them to be anything like special, but this is bad.
It has been a Zach Gallenless stretch of games too. He's back now, so maybe he can help a little bit. But that's.
I may have Ketel Marte back. Like,
It doesn't matter though. Like any major league, like the Tigers haven't gone on a losing streak of that long. Like teams will lose a lot of games, but you can only take so much losing before you're just fed up and say, you know what, we're just gonna like absolutely ball out this game. Like so, eventually it's gonna happen. But it just hasn't happened for the Diamondbacks, and that included a 7-run first inning that they had against the Giants, and they ended up losing that game. Like, come on, man. That's just rough. You can't really say anything else about that.
Yeah, they. What was the stat, Uwe, that I found right before this?
Yeah,
podcast?
so they started the year 15-13. You know, above 500. That was the last point they were above 500. 6-40 is their record since then. 6-40. That's crazy. That's beyond awful. So yeah, just to put into context, even here, think of it this way: the last road game that the Diamondbacks won was Madison Bumgarner's 7-inning no-hitter. How long ago? Like that just feels like forever ago, doesn't it? Yeah, it's been that long.
I'm gonna take back your excuse.
That was before I was born.
Yeah. I'm gonna take back your excuse that this has been a Zach Gallenless stretch for them because 6-40, they've lost 40 games in their last 46, and losing one pitcher isn't the cause of that. Yeah, and I mean Rudy. This is definitely underperforming, but maybe they are like pretty bad, and this is just like even more underperforming because this is. How do you explain a 6-40 to your owner as a GM or the coach or anything?
Probably the same way that Ben Simmons handled his press conference last night, if I were to guess.
Well played.
Who would you rather be right now? Would you rather be Ben Simmons or any Arizona Diamondback? It'd be
they're all
pretty neck and neck.
now, so.
By far, Ben Simmons. He makes like $40 million a year for the next like 4 years.
We're taking 3 shots in a playoff game.
My God.
All in the good days work.
Yep. We a basketball podcast now.
One Piece basketball, remember that?
Always were.
Throwback. Yeah, but maybe they'll win a game. We'll probably have to talk about it. We'll probably just have to talk about them winning a game and the excitement that'll come with that.
Have like an emergency podcast and just talk about winning a road game because they won tonight, I believe.
Yeah, I mean it's possible. It is possible. But yeah, I just to wrap up the podcast for today, we don't really have a good a good culmination of weird stuff like we normally do. Maybe we missed some things throughout the week.
Diamondbacks.
I mean, it's definitely historic. I don't know how weird it is to just lose. Like, it's not a weird thing. It's just um, unprecedented for sure. But I gotta say, dude, just watching baseball the last week or so, California had a big reopening days um, with a lot of their teams, with the state, uh, loosening restrictions further and having 100% capacity at like the Dodgers and Padres games, Angels games too now, I believe, and like seeing the excitement of a full crowd back, like it is noticeably different, and especially just because, like like I said, it is essentially a reopening day. It's a nice refresher in the middle of the year to just get that kind of hype back, and lots of teams around the country now back to 100% capacity. If not now, then very soon. Um, so, we're getting there. We're getting there. It's a good feeling to have that kind of atmosphere back, and even better feeling to know that like we've gotten to a point where um, this actually makes sense to do. Um, so good feelings there. I think that's a good place to leave on, right? With some good feelings. Yeah, let's do that. So yeah, we'll wrap it up here. Thank you everybody who's stuck around to the end of the pod. We appreciate you guys. If you did enjoy it, make sure to like it if you're watching on YouTube, or leave any kind of rating, comments. All that stuff helps us out wherever you're listening. And yeah, like I said earlier, make sure to follow us on social media at Beat the Shift BP, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. We want to hear from you. We want to know what you have to say about a lot of this stuff. We can sit here and talk all day, but it's more fun to get you guys involved. So that's where you can do that. And yeah, what else do I have to plug now? We're on YouTube. If you listen to this without seeing our faces and you're like, I really want to see their faces, you can on YouTube, as well as some other videos that we'll get out there as well. So subscribe there. BeatTheShiftBaseball.com. It's got everything. That's our website. And I think that's it for the plugs. All right. Thank you, everybody. One last time. As always, Farbod.